what can I say? Number one, Fury looked out of shape. He wasn't out of shape. He didn't gas out or anything. I'm not blaming him. He just looked overweight and flabby. Like you're getting ready for a world title fight, man. You're getting ready for a world title fight. You should be slim, trim. I understand there's a genetic issue perhaps. Maybe he's not the slimmest guy naturally. But he didn't look like he got ready for a world title fight. He boxed well, but he'll never go down as legendary status now. He will never. Boxing scholars will never mention him when they talk about the greats. They will never mention him when they talk about the greats. He should have annihilated Ngannou. Ngannou's an MMA guy who's done years and years of wrestling. And he's coming in there and arguably beating Tyson. Guys, I got to be honest with you. I got bored after Ngannou knocked him down. I thought Ngannou did great, by the way, guys. I want to congratulate Francis Ngannou for a brilliant performance. Before I go and start digging into Tyson Fury, let me just say, Ngannou left UFC as world champion, went into boxing, fought the heavyweight world champion, and in the estimate of most people, beat the heavyweight world champion, and he knocked him down. Now, I got to be honest with you guys, as I was watching the fight, I got bored and I stopped watching it. Then I got to round 5. After round 5, I was getting bored. I thought Ngannou was doing good. I thought Fury was just like, it was just not at his best, man. That was not his best night. He didn't look in shape, and he was jabbing a lot, moving around. There was no sense of urgency. I don't understand why he didn't try to infight at least with Ngannou a little bit, try to put the pace on Ngannou. Ngannou's volume was not as high. It was not high. I thought Tyson Fury's volume was too low for a boxing fight. I thought he should have put more pressure on Ngannou. I was really, really surprised of how much respect he gave Ngannou. Listen, he got knocked down. I think it was the second round, second or third. If I remember correctly, it was the second round, I want to say. It wasn't impressive for a world champion boxer to be fighting a guy who's done years and years of wrestling. It just was not impressive. It was not impressive. I don't think he'll ever be remembered as one of the greats. He needs a 10-fight win streak to undo this. He needs something colossal in the next 3 or 4 or 5 fights. But I want to applaud Ngannou. Ngannou, in the estimation of many, won that fight. Guys, give me your thoughts on Fury and Ngannou. Fury looked flabby is nothing too new. That's from Swish. You're right, but just it looked worse. It looked worse, man. I had trouble looking at him. I had trouble looking at the man. I ain't fat shaming him, but the man's a world champion. He should have went in there. I don't have to have a 6-pack. Like, I get it. Maybe he's not naturally lean, but still, man, he was bouncing around and he had love handles. I think he looked like a guy who just didn't do the work. He cut corners. He expected an easy fight. Maybe did a little bit too much drinking. He didn't look at his best. He threw one big right hand, got countered with a hook it can happen to anybody, but still, he didn't look right. He didn't look good. He didn't put his hands together. He was throwing too many jabs, and I'm a jabber, and I love jabbing, but I think at one point he should have got on the inside with Ngannou. Ngannou was kind of chasing him around and didn't have the footwork to cut off the ring as much as, because he's a wrestler too. He's more heavy-footed than a boxer, but still, he could still outdo Fury. It was insane. A really disappointing performance by Fury. I hate to say it, but I have to say it. I have to be honest. I was not impressed by Fury. Coach, how do you think Izzy would do against Prochaska at 205? That's one objective. I really don't like Izzy at 205. I think he should be a 185er. I think he would lose against Yuri. I think he would lose. I think he would eventually get caught. He would get mauled, man. Yuri's way too big. Look, Pereira was too big for Izzy. Imagine Yuri. I think Yuri. Adesanya moves around too much. Yuri won't get pressured. I think it's the leg kicks and pressure that's gonna hurt Yuri. Does it bother you that a boxer still take down on martial arts, especially grappling? That's from Gabriel Martin. Does it bother you that boxers still talk down? Excuse me. I don't have my glasses on. Still talk down. Yeah, listen, boxers are just insecure. I hate to say it, man. They're just insecure. They're like, oh, these wrestlers, these grapplers, these MMA guys, they kick, they punch, they elbow, they knee. They're 100 times tougher than us because, let me tell you something, guys. In the 80s, in the 90s, if you were a champion boxer, if you were the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, you were considered the world's toughest man. That was the crown. You were the uncrowned world's toughest man. Unknowingly, people didn't know back then that a wrestler could 9 times out of 10 take down a world champion boxer. Like if you put a heavyweight wrestler with a heavyweight boxer, I'm betting, and strictly from those sports, they're not cross-training in MMA. I'm telling you the wrestler's going to win 9 times out of 10. He's going to be scared to get hit. He's going to dive in those legs. He's going to throw him on his back, and he's going to maul him. But before UFC, people didn't know that. People thought that wrestling was like, if you try to grab me, boom, I'm just going to punch you. It's just not. It wasn't known that wrestlers are hard to avoid. Once they grab you, if you're not trained in wrestling, you're going to get destroyed. A heavyweight wrestler would destroy a heavyweight boxer 9 times out of 10. So they always had that mystique. Now you have this wave of MMA fighters where everybody's like, hey, we kind of forgot about boxing. The toughest guy in the world is this UFC guy who is the heavyweight champion. That's the toughest guy in the world. So, they want to sell their tickets. They want to look down on us. They say we don't know what we're doing. It's not true. It's not true. Of course, boxers would have an edge in boxing. But let me tell you something. MMA fighters can be very, very competitive in boxing with boxers, world champion boxers, etc. But boxers would not be competitive in MMA. Even if they tried to convert and train, they would need to completely convert to MMA to have a chance. It's really, really tough to compete in MMA with just a little bit of training of MMA, and then I'm going to jump in. No, you get destroyed. You'd have to jump in with both feet. Now, an MMA fighter doesn't have to jump in with both feet in boxing because so many of them are already great boxers. That's their style of MMA fighting. So there's that to consider and when it comes to that. However, I find it to be petty when boxers try to look down at martial artists. I find it to be ridiculous. Is it true most heavyweights in boxing these days don't compare to past heavyweights? Does Fury compare to the past heavyweights? I don't think so, to be honest. That's from Hassan. No, in no way, shape, or form do they compare to Ali, Frazier, Foreman. There's no way. Ali, Foreman, Frazier, those guys, in my opinion, were probably the 3 greatest heavyweights in history. And they were born in the same era, and they all fought each other, and it was just like the golden era of heavyweight boxing. Now, Mike Tyson, unfortunately for him, he didn't have that counterpart. When he fought Holyfield, that was when he passed his prime. When he was in his prime, there was no Frazier. There was no Foreman for him to fight. There was no Ali. There was no guy out there who had that mystique. We always try to, people always debate who would have won, Ali or Tyson. That's something boxing scholars argue about all the time.